Welcome back to the Hoops Temple podcast. Y'all know me, Nathan Schwartz. Joining me in Sacramento, Aaron Schroeder.
Good to see you, Nate. Good to see you.
Been a whole long 5 minutes for us. Been probably 2 or 3 days for you guys since we last posted the episodes because we're going to try to space these out. But hey, we're going to do 126 to 150 now for the top 100. This is us live debating it. Not live because you're hearing it post, semi-live. We're
Kind of
coming up with
live. We're
this on
live
air.
right now. That counts.
Yeah, we are live to each other, if not live to you.
How exciting. It's the most important party conversation is 126 to 150 on your all-time list.
Yeah.
It's how you get girls, how you make friends. The way
You
we
roll
did
up to a
this,
party and you're like, listen, hey, 133. Who you got?
that's important. So
You fight 'em.
someone's got to know.
Throw hands.
So we have ranked all the positions out to 50. The way we do this is the highest ranked player from that position is our next nomination. The highest unranked player from the point guards is Seattle Supersonic legend Gus Williams. From the shooting guards, we have Laker Hall of Famer Gail Goodrich. Small forwards, we have Phoenix Sun great Shawn Marion, also played for the Dallas Mavs. Power forwards, it's Piston and Celtic Hall of Famer Bailey Howell. And for the centers, it is Grizzlies, Raptors, Lakers. It's Marc Gasol.
Man, Bailey Howell is a guy like Walker Kessler in my mind. I'd always say it wrong. I don't know if it should be Howell Bailey, Bailey Howell, Kessler Walker, Walker Kessler, but we'll talk about him. Do you have a nomination for 126?
I'm a little on the fence. I had Shawn Marion to start. How do you feel about that?
Ooh, interesting. I'm a little bit more interested in a Marc Gasol.
Okay.
But talk to me about it.
Shawn Marion was good for a really long time.
So long.
1,163 games, played until he's age 36. Thing is, age 36 isn't that long. He just played in every game for every season all of the time. From 2001 to 2011, age 22 to 32, that's 17 points, 2 assists, 9.5 rebounds, 1.7 steals, 1.2 blocks. Just a great defensive wing. Kind of played bigger than he was. He was only listed at 6'7", but he played some power forward. Really hope the Suns play with that fast pace, given his size and his speed. You're looking at someone that could be 20 and 10 with great defense.
My Marc Gasol case, similar. Well, actually, no, not similar at all. Gasol is a 3-time All-Star, but he is the heart and soul of those Grizzlies teams. And it is a conglomerate. It is a team effort. The idea that Gasol should be so much higher than Mike Conley or Zach Randolph probably isn't fair. But he has a 3-year stretch where Memphis wins 50 games 3 times. And, or I guess, sorry, it's a 4-year stretch, but he gets hurt in the middle of it and they dip. And as soon as he comes back, they shoot back up. In 2013, the Grizzlies are 40-19 with Gasol and just 10-13 without him. He really is the bus driver on this team. He is the straw that stirs the drink, however that expression goes. In the playoffs with the Grizzlies, he's averaging like 17-9 with, pretty good passing for a big man. 3.5 assists,
Fantastic passing.
7 blocks. Yeah. And, you look back, the Raptors win their title because of Kawhi. No doubt. Kawhi he is 1A, he is 1B, he is probably number 2. But all the rest of the players contributed in their special ways. And Gasol's defense on Embiid cannot be overstated. Embiid had a really bad series against them. And, we had that magical Kawhi multi-bounce shot. If Embiid plays better, you don't need that magical multi-bounce shot. So I think Gasol's contributions in a late stage, that's where I was getting the similarity with Shawn Marion, because Marion's late stage contributions as a defender, locking up Kobe, really helps Dallas just win the title that one year.
2011 champ for Shawn Marion. For Gasol, that 2019 run, he plays in all 24 games, starts all of them. He's shooting 38% from the field, and he's incredible at defending the rim. He's like their not the three, not the, I guess 3 and D in terms of centers. In terms of centers, usually you think
Yeah.
3 and D in terms of wings, but he's spacing the floor and defending the rim. And in terms of guys that are going to make the right play, make the right pass, they're not going to have dumb turnovers. That's got to be Marcus Gasol. Yeah, I'm good with that. I like Marcus Gasol.
Hell yeah. On the board, 126. Behind Gasol, because this is what we do. We get one player from one position. If he makes it, we introduce the next one. Behind him, we have Alex Gorza, Alex Groza. You
I
always,
gotta get that. Gotta get that right.
you always get mad at me.
Not
I don't
Rosa.
think, I don't think we have the Groza case here.
Not yet. Not yet.
You just told me, but apparently he's got a Hall of Fame brother in football. That's cool.
That's true.
Maybe if his brother was here, but here he'd get higher. But 127. This is a special number for me. It's one of my favorite numbers of all time. And you want to put Shawn Marion here?
I think so. I think in terms of defense, rebounding, impacts of winning in Phoenix and in Dallas. But he also has series like 2006. Excuse me one second. 2006 second round versus the Clippers. He averages 26 points, 12 boards on 50% shooting. And then in the conference finals against Dallas, they go to 6 games. He's 17 points, 13 boards. 2007 first round against Kobe's Lakers, 18 points and 10 boards. Clearly the production's there, and these are deep playoff runs.
I think it's right. I'm kind of looking around at the other guys. I do really like Gus Williams. I kind of made the case for him last time to be in that top 125, and the case is a potential Finals MVP. It ends up going to Dennis Johnson, but they are neck and neck. It's being the top player on one of the top players in a conglomerate on multiple 50-win teams. But I think you could say the same about Shawn Marion. And one thing you can say about Marion that you can't say about Gus Williams is the longevity, the aspect. Marion does have a truly underrated how long his career is and how long he is not just playing, not just on rosters like a Vince Carter, but getting those 1,000 games in and being a starter for most of them. I like it.
Thank you. I appreciate it. I wasn't 100% sold. Sometimes if you're not sold on your own take, just try to make it the best you can, and maybe you'll convince yourself.
Fake it till you make it. That's what
Fake
I
it till you
always
make
say.
it. So with that, we have the nomination of Mark Aguirre
Ooh.
from the small forward spot, and I kind of like it. I kind of like that as the next option. He's helping Dallas make conference finals, averaging 25 points a night. He averages 25 points a night over 8 seasons in Dallas before taking a much smaller role on championship Pistons teams. How do you feel about that?
Man, I'm trying to find my write up on Mark Aguirre here. It is hidden. There it is. There it is. Because I did a good job trying to find out a lot of like stats, numbers, also quotes that's on these guys. He leaves some All NBA selections on the table, but if there was a third team in part of his era, he definitely would get it. Now, Mark was a great scorer, leader on the 88 Mavs when they go to the Western Conference Finals. Just trying to think.
Not just go to the conference finals, they pushed the Lakers to 7 games, and he's averaging 25
Yes.
points, 6.5 boards, 3 assists, and then right after that, he takes a much smaller role in Detroit, and you see the championship effect.
The sacrifice, the willingness to come, play less, score less.
It's what Danley
What
could
is it?
not do, although we still have Danley above him.
Yeah. I like it. I feel
right.
like he should be close to Dantley. I also just want to say, from our positional rankings, he's the 30th small forward off the list. We're at 33 or 32 centers on the list. We're at 33 on our nominations. we have yet to get to our 20th shooting guard or our 21st power forward. Like, just
They're
the
just those are the tweener positions. Are you a point guard, a wing, or a center? And if you're not those things, you're a amalgamation of a shooting guard or a power forward. It makes no sense. Would you like to take a pick at the next guy, 129?
Yeah, I kind of want to go with Bailey Howell.
Okay. Let me
How
hear the
far back
Bailey
is
Howell
Bailey for
case.
you?
I had him 131.
Okay, so
So
not too
he's
far
right
back.
there.
The Bailey Howell case is very similar to a Chris Bosh case. Bailey Howell is a great scorer for a number of years on kind of bad Pistons teams and then bad-ish Baltimore teams. But he's 20 and 10 for, I mean, pretty much his whole career. I guess he ends at like 19 and 10 and after all of his years, but he can get you first round exits as the number one option. And then at the end of his career, he jumps to Boston and replaces Tommy Heinsohn as that scoring forward next to Bill Russell. And really, he kind of becomes the offensive workhorse for this team when Havlicek's out or when and just at different points. There's times where he is leading the team in scoring for long stretches. I think he's only able to do that because of the infrastructure and everything around him. But it's a little bit like the old Spurs being around Kawhi of like, all right, we need you to carry us. But it's kind of more like the old Celtics being like, hey, new guy, give us all you got, and we'll cover your weak points.
I love that he's the new guy, even though he's 30 when he joins Boston. But I agree, he added an influx of scoring because even Heinsohn really started to dip off as a scorer by the time he retired. He's sub 40% shooting in his
Mm,
final season, having Howell come in. You have someone, and it's the same thing that we talked about earlier. Like 1961, the Pistons, they win just 34 games. But the teams that are winning games, the Celtics, obviously, 57 wins. The Warriors, um, with Wilt, that's an important one. They win 46 games. The Hawks with Pettit, 51 games. And after that, it's like, yeah, I think Detroit winning 34 ish games sounds about right because those guys are some of the best players ever. And Howell's going to be down here at 130 ish.
and he's also just a really efficient scorer with that. We're talking about all the points that he scores, but true shooting added. How many baskets are you scoring and how much plus or minus are you shooting in better or worse than the league? He added basically 1,900 points over his career than a league average player. By comparison, some of the other volume guys, like we just put Mark Aguirre in there. Mark Aguirre added 134 points compared to a league average shooter in his era. That's a huge, huge difference. So even though it didn't translate to a bunch of wins, he's a rather efficient scorer. I like it at 129.
All right, we're on fire so far.
With Howell coming off the board, that gives us Kevin Love as our next power forward nomination.
You want to do
Do you,
Kevin Love? Do you want Kevin Love to be here on this list? I had Peja and Gus Williams and then Kevin Love. How do you feel about that?
oh man, did we get Page out for small forwards?
We do. We do. Peja is the next small forward up. My bad. Should have said something. Peja Stojakovic. Hey, Peja. Next
Yeah,
small
listen,
forward up. From
if
2001 to 2004, he's 21 points a game,
if your
40%
guy
shooting
gets
from deep.
nominated, you got to be in charge of handling the next up
Yeah,
nominations.
that's true. That's true. I'll handle it. Peja, the longevity isn't there. His body falls apart really quickly. He's done by age 30, essentially, in terms of being that elite player or even an above average player. But he has this run from 2001, 2004, where he's the best 3-point shooter in the league. But also, like when Chris Webber, one second, I'm going to take a long pause and type something out.
Can't take long pauses anymore. We're on video.
Chris Webber missed the first 20 games due to a preseason ankle injury in 2002, but they still won 17 of their first 22 games. And it's Peja and those guys carrying that kind of load. It's kind of like the Penny Hardaway case we made earlier in terms of Shaq getting hurt and Penny Hardaway being like, all right, whatever, I'm still going to carry this team. It's to a really good record. And Peja has a fourth place MVP finish in 2004 as Chris Webber's body continues to break down and Peja takes a step forward offensively. They're the second best offense in the league, with Webber playing just 23 games, and they do make it out of the first round. They lose in a heartbreaking game 7 to Minnesota that year, but I think there's evidence that Peja had a stretch of being that elite player.
Also, pretty elite role player kind of in the end. He gets to Dallas and provides them some shooting. In for that 2011 run where he gets his ring. His time with Chris Paul and the Hornets, I was about to say slash Pelicans, but they were just the Hornets that whole time. A little bit underrated. Like he's the spacing that allows for that front line of David West and Tyson Chandler to go to work in the pick and roll action. Like you couldn't just send help from his corner. You had to stay glued to him, which opens a lot of things up for Chris
Sure.
Paul. I
So
didn't realize that.
you're good with Peja at 130?
I love Peja.
All right.
Absolutely.
So I will get it this time. The next small forward up is Willie Wise. This is an ABA guy. This is your chance to shine your ABA knowledge. Is he your next pick, or do you want to do Gus Williams? You were all about
Man.
Gus Williams earlier. What happened?
There's just so many legends. You start seeing names, start seeing faces you love. I do
Gus
think it's
Williams
Gus.
averaged 29 points in the finals.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it's time for Gus Williams. If nothing else, let's get him off the board. Let's get another name out here. Let's continue to talk about players.
Mark Price. Next point guard in is Mark Price. Cavs legend Mark Price is the next point guard up.
Hmm. All right. I guess it probably is my turn to nominate someone. And like that Gus Williams kind of just feels like it's a long time coming. Doesn't really count for my nomination, right?
That's correct. Go ahead.
All right. So our available options at this point are Gail Goodrich, Kevin Love, Mark Price. Who is our center? Alex Gorza.
Groza.
Groza. I will call him Gorza until the day I die. I don't know why. I'm terrible about this. It's the Bill Simmons name blindness, but I do really good at pronouncing Sharunas Jasikevicius, but Groza just gets me. How do you feel about Groza? How far back do you have him?
Had him at 149. It's going to be a little bit.
All right. Too short of a career. Or then I don't want to battle you for him forever. So unfortunately, with my ABA readings, I was kind of disappointed in what I found out about Willie Wise. And it's nothing too negative. It's just, I read this 400-page loose balls, and there's just not enough like good about him. Like you hear a lot about other guys around him and his team and his coaches, and it's it was kind of disappointing. I think what I would actually like to do is probably bump him back. And can I nominate Glenn Rice?
You can. I like it. I appreciate the flexibility. I had Glenn Rice at 134. I'd be willing to move him up.
Yeah, Glenn Rice, three-time All-Star, two-time All-NBA, a champion with the Lakers. He has a top 5 MVP finish, another great shooter, kind of one of the he's a small forward, but he also played power her forward. He's a bigger small forward, and he can really stretch the floor with that shot. The 3-point shot really starts to come in vogue in the 90s, and he's putting up about 5 a game at 40%, which is really rare for that era. Let me see here.
He shot 47% from 3 on 5.6 attempts per game in 1997. That'd be impressive now. He was averaging 27 a night. I mean, he played 79 games. He was just on fire from 3 the entire season.
Yeah. I went and looked it up. That's what was let me see hearing. Yeah, he is in the top 10 in 3-point attempts, really the top of 8 4 times in his career, and he's in the top 10 and makes 5 times in his career. Like he is a early elite 3-point shooter, or which just expands the game. Him and Charlotte and Miami, he with some really good teams, and then kind of being that third option for the Lakers, who just needed a stable guy who they could count on to stop teams from collapsing when you had to rest either Kobe or Shaq, was huge.
I'm all about it. So with that, Willie Wise would come back as the new nomination. Are you feel comfortable with that, or do you want to put George Yardley ahead of him as well?
I'm comfortable with him above George Yardley. Yeah,
Okay.
just felt like we needed to maybe reassess this a little bit.
So I'm gonna nominate Kevin Love.
I like it.
I think it's time for 133. He's a 5-time All-Star, 2-time All-NBA. He's a rebounding champ. He's an NBA champ. Still playing, still contributing to the Heat today. But these Minnesota years, 2011 to 2014, it's just 4 seasons. And he does get hurt in 2013, but it's 23 points and it's close to 14 rebounds with 3 assists as well. He's one of the best rebounders you've seen in the modern era. He got to 15 rebounds per game. Man, I had made a video about it. Let me think for a sec. I think 15 boards and 20 points is it's him, and then the previous guy to do that was Moses Malone.
It's good company.
The team is
Yep.
really bad, but still, but even like 2014, 26 points, 12 boards, close to 4 assists, and they get up to 40 wins. They do miss the playoffs, but they do have a positive point differential. In fact, their expected win loss was 48 wins. They were 8 wins short. They're just horrible in close games. And that's with his teammates being Corey Brewer, Ricky Rubio, Kevin Martin, Nikola Pekovic, Dante Cunningham, Ronnie Turioff, what's left of JJ Barea, Lukuba Mute. It's an okay team, but it's so clearly Kevin Love just dragging that team, kicking and screaming to semi decency. And knowing the Timberwolves, that's really hard to do.
He was also a choice for Team USA and played fairly well in the Olympics.
Sure, I'll consider that. And then he goes on to play in Cleveland. He has made the finals. If the Heat finish this, he's made the finals every single time he makes the playoffs.
Undefeated against the Eastern Conference.
Undefeated.
I mean, I don't think it's really him. I think
No,
it's probably more
no,
his
no,
teammates, but
don't no, no. I
undefeated
don't, I
against
don't
the
know what
Eastern
you're talking
Conference.
about. I don't know
We
what you're
we
talking
look
about.
at playoff series, and Kevin Love is uh, supporting a nice 13-2 right now.
Hmm.
Probably be 14-2 by the time anyone listens to this. If
That's
I'm
true.
really slow at editing, it'll be a 14-3.
Little picking Denver, huh?
Yeah, picking Denver.
So they're
Yeah,
guaranteed to lose because we've been wrong about everything so far.
I've picked against Miami every time.
Okay,
I
so
think
they're.
except the
By the
Knicks.
time anyone's listening to this, they're going to be like, "Man, those 2 idiots
Yeah,
wrong about Miami again."
except the Knicks. You knew they were going to get past the Knicks. Anyone that picked the Knicks, like,
That's true. You kind of it's a mental fortitude kind of thing. Okay, so
yeah.
with Kevin Love gone, the power forward nomination is Draymond Green. Draymond Green.
I think with how much we debated Green versus Love, because like Green is quite obviously a better 2-3, third best guy. You're an elite team. What he can do for you defensively and his passing, um, but he doesn't have the upside of what Love brought as the number one. I think Green needs to be the next player off the board right now.
I agree. We really went back and forth. I had texted you about it a few times. We've talked about it previously. Are we sure we got that right? I think we landed in the right spot because of my favorite trope we talk about, which is scaling up and scaling down.
Mhm.
We know Draymond can scale down, be the third guy, do the little things, lead a great defense. That's really important. Is he good enough for if the talent isn't there to still be great? to give you 26 and 12 like Kevin Love could? The answer is no. When both of them showed they could be third options on title teams.
Yeah. There are some weird on-off stuff with Draymond Green where, hey, if he's playing a lot, it doesn't necessarily mean the Warriors are going to win. That could also just be like the competition. There's also, if him plus Curry, they're like plus 11 over their championship runs. Him minus Curry is like -1. Curry without him is like +6 per 100 possessions. Yeah, there is a lot of him and Curry being just 100% symbiotic is probably the best words to say about it.
He's like the little guys that attach to whales' underbellies.
Yeah.
And it's like, hey, look how good Draymond Green is. And it's like, I think it's the blue whale that is one of the 10 best players ever, making
Yeah.
sure this team actually wins anything.
And
2020 is a nice example where the talent is truly decimated. The Warriors are a shell themselves. They're basically a tanking team. Draymond's still out there, though he hasn't played the whole season, but they're the worst team in the entire league. And
yeah.
that's what happens when Draymond gets his own team. Can he raise the ceiling if he is held like a baby and put to the top of the ceiling? You know how like you take babies and you're
That's
like,
so
all right,
mean. No, no,
all
we're not
right,
going to
go
be
ahead.
this mean.
We had my niece over and we have a swimming pool with the basketball
Okay.
in it, and that's just the thought I had is holding her up and then she dunks the basketball, and that's Steph Curry pushing Draymond Green up to dunk it.
It's just,
Man,
just so
my
mean.
Warriors hate is showing through.
Well, what I was just going to say is, he plays that year with D'Angelo Russell. And like there's been this thought that, hey, you could put Draymond with a lot of teams and he will work with anybody. But Draymond doesn't actually work with just anybody. What he works with is let me do this super high screener role. Like just picture in your mind Amari Stoudemire or Steve Nash pick and roll. That's happening at the 3-point line. The roll is instantly in the paint, and then it's up to Amari to finish after he gets the ball. Curry's so far back that Draymond Green now gets to dribble and now gets to play make and pass. And that's where Draymond is at his best. If you put him with Nash and this pick and roll is closer to the basket, he's catching the ball in the lane where now it's more crowded. He's not an elite at rim finisher. It doesn't work as well. You can't put him with just any other point guard.
Sure.
He really needs Curry, but he's the best person to put with Curry. Likewise, if you put Amari Stoudemire with Curry, he's rolling to the basket, but he's too close. Curry doesn't have that much room to operate. If he tries to catch in space, now you got him dribbling from beyond the 3-point line. I don't love that. So like it's a balance, but I think this is the right spot for Green.
Can I give you my positive Draymond Green case? Because I do have a lot of nice things to say about him.
I just said nice things about Green.
I'll say nicer things about him. He's like the best defensive player we've seen in the past 20 years. He's fucking incredible at it. And on top of that, he is an incredible facilitator and can run the floor and make good passes. Since 2015, he's averaging 10 points, close to 8 boards, close to 7 assists. You get someone that can get you 10 assists, but also he's the best defensive player on the best dynasty we've seen since in the most recent dynasty with Golden State anchoring those great defenses. Watching him dismantle teams like Dame and the Blazers in those finals runs in the conference finals that one year, it felt like no one except for LeBron could get a step on him. Any lesser player was gonna round the corner, and it's like, how the hell did Draymond Green get here? Like, yeah, he was all the way over there. He was in the corner watching me, and now he's standing right in front of me, taking the ball from me. His rotations, his communication is some of the best. He truly is a transcendent defensive player.
Absolutely. Who's your nomination for 135? Or was that mine?
I'll make a nomination. I can take a look, but I'd like to mention, because it is my responsibility, Vern Mickelson is the new power forward. The Great Dane. We talked about Jim Pollard in the last episode. We talked about George Mikan in the very first episode of the Top 100 because he came in at 17th. Great Dane, Vern Mickelson, the defensive-minded power forward next to them. I'm not sure. I'm not ready for him quite yet.
I'm not ready for him.
Getting close. How do you feel about just going Klay Thompson?
Can't do it.
All right. Moving on.
I mean,
Just
we we
curious.
we
I had
literally
him for.
can't do it. We have Gail Goodrich as our next shooting guard.
How did I miss Gil Goodrich? Whoops, that's on me. My bad. How about Gil Goodrich then? He should be up. He definitely should be up because he should have been earlier. All right.
Yes, I like Gail Goodrich. You know, he's got an 8-year stretch where he averages 22 points, 5.5 assists, uh, 71 playoffs. There's no Jerry West. There's no Elgin Baylor. And Gail Goodrich averages 30 points per game, 7.4 assists. Like, that is huge. He does kind of. That's huge.
He's
The
a
series
leading
ends up.
scorer on the 72 Lakers.
Yeah.
And like one of the 10 greatest teams ever. He leads that team in scoring.
Yeah. It's, we saw him do it as number one. We saw him with the other guys. You know, he's leading them in scoring, so it's hard to say he's number three. But when you're playing with Wilt Chamberlain and Jerry West, you're the number three. Doesn't matter really how good you're doing. You're the number three. But like that's why I would have him over Clay, and why I like him here is that on his own, if you get 30-7 in a playoff series, you're an elite player. We've never seen in really much of the other guys on this list or in this area do that. And the fact that he does it for an 8-year period is it's not just a flash in the pan, which is if we've got someone who did something more impressive than him, it's a flash in the pan. I like him. I like him here at
I
135.
get that. It goes back to the scaling up and scaling down. Gail Goodrich is one of the best third options ever. He also could be your first option on whatever team. And he knows about being a first option on a really bad team because he is a member of the inaugural season for the Phoenix Suns, 1969. They go 16-66. He is an all-star that season. At one point, this team is 9-40, and they lose. They win 2 games in the last 20. It's a tough season. And then he goes back to the Lakers after leaving, and he's like telling Wilt Chamberlain and Jerry West about the horrors he's seen. He knows how to lose and he knows how to win.
It's fair.
With
All right.
Goodrich out of the way, it goes to Klay Thompson, which is how we got here.
And I think Clay is the next guy. Clay, 5 years as an all-star, but really, we underrate him coming back from his injuries. I mean, he doesn't play basketball for almost 1,000 days. I feel it was like 930 something days. And when he comes back, he still is averaging 20 points per game. He still is an elite shooter. Yes, 3-point percentage dropped. It dropped to 38.5 on 9 attempts a game. If you can get me 38.5 on 9 attempts per game, that's pretty damn good. This year it bounced back up. It's back up to 41 on 10 attempts per game, which is this is the most he's shot threes, and part of it's the lack of mobility. But he also was a good defensive player.
It was a really special shooting season. It's the 6th most threes anyone's ever made. He joined James Harden and Steph as one of the 3 people to ever make 300 threes in a season. He did that this year. He finished the season horrible, terrible, very bad, not good.
Mm-hmm.
But I give him credit for that. And even beyond just this season, he is one of the best shooters of all time. Him and Steph and Draymond, it's one of the best trios of all time because you get the defensive guy who just wants to pass and doesn't want to shoot. You get Steph doing everything, can score from anywhere, and Klay Thompson's just like, this is awesome. I'm going to stand right here, move without the ball, play good defense. And he was taking the defensive assignments, guarding the other team's best players as long as they were wings or guards, because he was that kind of defensive player in his heyday.
Yeah. Now, there's a lot of bad advanced metrics around Clay that I can't always fully explain, but Clay would oftentimes play with bench units. They kind of married Curry and Draymond together. And so then it'd be Clay out there trying to create for himself. And maybe we do see when, Clay has so much time by himself that they're not that great, or he's not that great to be a number one. That's why we have him behind Gail Goodrich. But he can put him next to any other player. He is one of the most portable stars. There's not a bad lineup for Clay. So yeah, I think this is a great spot for him.
Tell me about where you think he's going to play next season.
Does he have the player option?
No, it's Draymond. You think Clay would look good in a Hornets uniform?
No. Clay has to go somewhere. Clay has to go somewhere with other good players. He is not carrying the load. And
I so badly want Clay in like in Orlando. Draymond's like just one of these teams that are kind of coming up, and we're kind of like, all right, let's bring this together. Let's start making the playoffs, and you insert a 4-time champ, someone who's been there. Someone's got to do it. You can't just die on the Warriors. Let Draymond go to Orlando. Let Klay Thompson. I want to see it. I want to see it in Orlando.
Clay is still under contract next year. I pulled it up.
He's a real expensive. He is a hell of a trade chip.
Yeah. Who wants $43 million to Clay? No one's going to take that.
He's an expiring asset.
Him and Wemby.
Throw
him right into that Spurs cap space. No, you're not going to be able to get enough to replace him to make it worth trading him. Plus, maybe, you run out the 24 season and then you can bring him back cheaper, the hometown discount, something.
Yeah, right. I mean, that's the idea. He's worth $10 million a year. You know how much Klay Thompson wants?
How much is he
way
get,
more than that. He wants way more than that. And if the Warriors are over the tax, and someone's going to do it, someone's going to give him some money. But without Klay Thompson, we have Mitch Richmond coming up. Are you interested in Mitch Richmond? That's kind of a nice pick there.
Mm-hmm. Let me look. All right, we got Vern Mickelson. Yep, I think Mitch Richmond's better than Vern. We have Mark Price. Price is good. But I think I like Mitch. Just no.
It's close. Absolutely an argument. I'm willing to go there. I did have Price above Mitch, but while I'm here, change my mind a little bit.
I think Price is right. That was terrible. I did not mean that.
The Price is right. Let's go.
God, I'm not looking at the camera, but I hope my face just like crumpled when I realized I made the Price is Right pun by 100% accident. But Mark Price,
incredible.
6-year stretch as a 4-time All-Star. He misses one of the seasons in there, or most of one of the seasons. But during those 6 years, he's like averaging 18 points, 8 assists, almost 50, 40, 90. He's like 48.7, 40, 90.1. When he gets injured, the team falls from being 42 and 40 to being 33 and 49. And then when he comes back, they bounce back to being 57 and 25 with mostly the same core. And it's him, Larry Nance, and Brad Daughtry.
I think it's just Doherty. Is it just Doherty?
It is Doherty. My brain jumps.
Honestly,
it's the dyslexia.
We go off the dome for hours here, and the names just blend together into one huge name. I love say, Mark Price.
I love the fact that the names I mess up are like the basic names.
Like the hardest. I'm notorious for messing up names. My friends make fun of me because we'll play like, MLB The Show online, and I'll be talking about players, and he's like, "You don't know how to pronounce any of these names, do you?" He's like, "How do you not have one inkling of like a feel for how names should be pronounced? You're horrible at that." So
it happens. Sorry, it happens.
It happens, but I'm a fan of Mark Price. He shoots 90% from the line. That's pretty cool. That is a rare feat. Him and the Cavs put together a really special run. It's the best run the Cavs have had that doesn't have LeBron on it. And what they're doing right now might rival that eventually, but until then, it's Price and Larry Nance and Craig Elo and Daugherty and those guys.
And Brad's got to be coming up soon in our centers rankings. How far back? Oh yeah, he's the next guy behind Alex Groza.
Groza, the R comes first. We'll figure it.
All right. Well then, I actually kind of like the run of shooting guards that we have here.
Mm-hmm.
here where we've got Mitch Richmond and then Manu Ginobili. I don't think I'm going to get there with Warren Jabali, but how do you feel about Mitch and Manu being
I like it.
138 and 139?
Mitch Richmond is like a martyr of bad basketball. Um, he has to put up with so many horrible, horrible Kings teams. I haven't finished this project because it's a pain, but I will soon. Where I'm charting the year by year point differential for the Kings. Every game goes into this. It's I think up to 6,000 games at this point, and it's not that hard to. I'm not doing it game by game, but I do have to sit there and put numbers in boxes. Um, Mitch Richmond comes in and gives them just a breath of hope. The Kings are so bad for so long. Um, Looking at their franchise index from 1994 to 1987, they win 30 plus games 0 times. 30 games, not 40 games, not 35 games, 30 games. They are just basement dwelling, and then he comes in and they are kind of a little bit good. They do get to 39 wins, 34 wins. 1998, they win 27 games. Mitch Richmond has a box plus minus of 3.6. Do you know how many other players in that team out of the 16 other players had a positive box plus minus?
How many years?
Sorry, just the one season,
Just the one
1998.
season.
He has a box plus minus of 3.6. How many other players in that team have a positive box plus minus?
I'm going to go with 3.
Zero. None of them. If Mitch Richmond is on the floor, they are kind of okay, and when he's not on the floor, they're the worst team in the league by far.
Yeah.
And on a statistical note, he's 21 points a game for close to 1,000 games, and for that 6-year stretch, he does make 6 All-Star teams, 6 All-NBA teams from 93 to 98. He's 23 points and 4 assists and 4 boards. And Mitch Richmond's really good, man. I had
Yeah.
somebody, I think Ori actually messaged me quite a while ago, and I was in the middle of the Reggie Miller Klay Thompson thing, and he said he had seen someone um say that he'd rather have Mitch Richmond than both those guys. And while it's close for Klay Thompson, I think we disagree with Reggie Miller, but Mitch Richmond's really good.
I think it's debatable. I mean, we've got a large chunk, but Richmond, if you look year by year, the media and the people who were ranking players within each season, Richmond is higher most of those years. Richmond, he's a bona fide bucket. He is 62nd all time in points scored, regular season and playoffs. He has, what is this, 8 seasons in the top 10 in scoring? No, 6 seasons in the top 10 in scoring. And like Richmond is a really consistently good but not great player. I think that's a lot of what Reggie is. And like what we're gonna have Richmond be here 138 and we had
Mm-hmm.
Reggie, was it
88.
84, 88? So we got
80,
basically
87. Let me double check.
we got basically 50
87.
spots between them is what I'm
Yeah.
trying to get at.
It's interesting. And really, we could make a pyramid of these things because the closer you get to the top, the fewer there are guys of that caliber. But as you
Yes.
get down, it's like, okay, if Mitch Richmond is one single peg below Reggie Miller, that means there are 6 other guys that join him right next to him. It is exponential. And then the Kings just ripped the Wizards' throat out and traded a 32-year-old Richmond for Chris Webber, which is just mwah, French kiss. Go Kings.
But he does get his ring finally. You know, it's something to look at. He only plays in 2 games in the playoffs for the Lakers in 02, but it was the veteran presence. It was the leadership. It was the I don't know. I don't got anything to make it sound better.
All right.
It's an old player at the
So
end of his career that finally got a ring.
we're going to Manu after this. Is that correct?
Absolutely. 4-time champion, 2-time all-star. Um One of the most misunderstood players, I really feel like, because there's this thought that permeates certain circles of basketball discourse that if you gave him his own team, he is James Harden, or if you gave him his own team, he is Kobe Bryant. There is absolutely no statistical performance to show that. There is his '08 year where he has his best year and the team looks great when he's playing well. The team also looks great when he plays poorly. There is very little impact either way. The other thing that I think is misunderstood about Manu is this idea that he always came off the bench. From 2004 to 2011, he starts 60% of the team's games. He prefers to come off the bench. He says he likes to watch it, kind of figure out what's going on, and then get into the games. But he is more often than not, 60% of the time, a starter for those teams. And so the idea that he's self-sacrificing coming off the bench, and that's why he's not an all-star, not all NBA, that's kind of true. That's also kind of just mystique being added in here. What he is an incredibly crafty player. The way he cuts through the lane, the way he can score on you. I mean, that Euro step, now it's pretty common, but back then, he was just shifty. He guys didn't know what to see. Also, defensively, I wouldn't say he was a lockdown. He definitely wasn't a great individual one-on-one defender, but he played passing lanes very well. He was great in schemes. You know, he averages basically a steal and a half for that peak. He brought a lot to the table. I think having him here at 139 is a great spot.
I think you're on the right track. He starts coming off the bench full time at age 34, and I think that's about the time you guys usually start coming off the bench full time. Um, I think the mistake people make with Manu is they see his gold medal for Argentina, and they assume that means he could have been the best player on a title team or close to it. If Manu could have been the best player on a title team, the Spurs would have won every single season he ever played. But he only wins 4, and they played for
Mhm.
a long time, and they managed to break through 4 times. Um, Manu is what he was. They took advantage of Argentina took advantage of a sloppy USA team that hadn't played together, didn't play well together, didn't like each other, and the Argentinian team had played together, liked each other, played really good basketball. Um, I also don't really. I mean, we don't consider EuroLeague accolades
No.
in this. We mentioned Kevin Love's performance earlier, but we don't actually consider that. Um, but for what he was, he's close to Klay Thompson. He is a really awesome third option that shines through in the biggest moments, helps the Spurs be contenders for 20 years. Um, Nothing bad to say about him, really. He did all the little things. He came off the bench, played good defense, playmaked, rebounded, scored. I want Mono on my team. I'd want him on my team right now. He'd probably be the third best player on the Kings.
Oh yeah. I also just love to get a beer with Manu.
Absolutely.
Looks great guy. All right. Well, with getting rid of Manu, or that's a terrible way to say getting ranked 139th, um, it brings on Warren Jabali, who is a great player in the ABA. Bit more cantankerous than I expected. He was born Warren Armstrong, converted to Islam, and kind of gets a lot of the same bad rap that Hakeem gets, or not Hakeem, Kareem him gets. You know, there wasn't a big market for him. He also would just fight anybody during his ABA days. Like you cross him or you say something wrong, like he was angry and very fight heavy, which in the 70s happened a lot. I
But
mean,
it
that's where
won titles, Nate. It won championships.
it won
He's the
one
best rebounding guard
championship.
ever. That's a championship. He's the best rebounding shooting guard ever.
It was the 69 championship with Oakland. He averages basically 29 points and 13 rebounds in that playoff run. Yeah,
He's 6'2". He's 6'2".
that's cool. That
That's
is cool.
awesome. That's awesome. He's 6'2". He's averaging 12 rebounds a game. He could touch the rim, the rim with his head. He could get up there. Just an insane athlete. If you've seen pictures of him, he just has these insane muscular legs. Uh, but my favorite thing about Tribali is he was able to be this awesome scoring, rebounding player. Then he gets hurt, and then he gets up to 6 assists, 7 assists per game, and he also starts taking threes. He's one of the few ABA players to get up to 100 made threes in a season. He leads the ABA in 3-point attempts in 1972. He's just out there trying shit. He's like, what if I got 12 boards a game? What if I was the best passer on the team? What if I started shooting threes? And then he's just so well rounded in all those assets.
It's a well rounding of the guys on the board. I think there are two players I'd rather have over him, maybe three. Are you locked into Warren at 140?
No, I'm not. But I like Orange Boy. Um, did we do Mark Price already?
We did.
Or
Mark
was
Price,
he?
he was 137,
Okay.
which introduced us JoJo White, who I probably did a poor job introducing because I think Mark Price was my nomination. JoJo White, 7-time All-Star, 2-time All-NBA, player for the Celtics, gets a ring, leads all scorers in the greatest game ever played. Plays 60 minutes in that game, 33 points. He averages 46.5 minutes in the series, which you get the 60 games going to pull you up, but he basically is just averaging a ton of minutes. He is constantly on there. He's generally in the top 10 in assists per game. He has some really terrible shooting nights for Boston in the playoffs, and they're still able to win with him going like
He's a winning
2 for
player.
15, 5 for 15.
Finds a
Yeah,
way. He
finds
finds a
other
way to
ways.
impact the game, even if he's not the one scoring. In the playoffs, he's played in 14 playoff series, 21 and a half points per game, 6 assists, 4 boards, made it to 2 finals, won both of them. The Celtics are a really good team in the 70s, and he's there from 1970 to 1978. He's like the Sam Jones replacement in a sense. When Jones and Russell walk away, the Celtics take a few seconds. They're like, hey, how about 2 more Hall of Famers? Dave Cowens and JoJo White. Let's just do it all over again.
Yeah, we'll keep making it work. We'll figure it out. We'll remix this shit and get back to it.
Do you feel good about JoJo White then?
No, I was leaning towards Vern or Alex Groza.
Interesting. You don't like JoJo White. He's my boy. He was first. He was 2 second team All NBAs. Okay. No, I mean I get it. The 1976
Do you
Finals
get it?
MVP.
Do you
Is
get
that the
it?
issue? Is that the issue? He won the 1976 Finals MVP. It's for something.
Yeah.
Yeah, huh? Yeah, it
Yeah.
does. Yeah.
What about Vern? What about Vern?
I like Vern. 6-time All-Star, 4-time All-NBA, 4-time champ. It's the Jim Pollard case, but he's a little bit worse than that. What I like about Vern is he bridges the gap between a few players to make it from the Mikan era because he starts in 50. He makes it all the way to 1959. He plays in all 72 games in the regular season, all 13 games in the postseason, and him and Elgin Baylor make the finals together. Um, and that's and he's good in those finals, 21 points and 12 rebounds. It usually those early 50s players, the league just catches up at some point. But for Vern, he was good the whole time. Do you want to do Vern?
Yeah. With Vern, the reason why the league didn't catch up to him is he was both fast, they call him the Great Dane, but he's also very physical. He led the league in fouls a bunch, like literally 3 straight seasons, 55 to 57. And while that's not like yippee leading the league in fouls, um, it just he played guys physical. He played them tough. And then when the shot clock gets introduced, that killed a lot of the physical players. And he's just like, oh, okay. I guess I run now. I'm fast. I like the fact that he contributed to 4 rings. You didn't mention it, but yeah, making it to Elgin Baylor, great. It's good it's really amazing longevity for a player of this era to
Yeah.
play 10 seasons.
Because in the 50s, you sprained your ankle, and they're like, you need ankle surgery. And also, we do it with a rusty saw and nails. And you're never going to walk again. Sorry.
Yeah, you might as well just have
Curse
that
over.
thing amputated at that point, right?
You're never getting it back. Okay. No more Vern Mickelson. He's nominated forever stapled into the top 200. How about Maurice Lucas, our next power forward nomination?
Mm, the muscle behind Bill Walton, the number 2 of the I'm gonna mess up the year, but 77 championship team?
1977 leads that team in scoring.
I do like. I like Maurice. Is Lucas. The real question, man, just could you imagine what he could have been? Like we talk about what Bill could have been, but if you had a healthy Maurice Lucas, this team could have still been something. They make the playoffs in '79 without Bill Walton. Lucas has a very disappointing playoffs, but this is kind of his team. It's him. Lionel Hollins is still there. You got a younger Michael Thompson. I don't really know who Tom Owens is, but he's the second leading scorer on this team. I don't know that I quite like him high enough
Maybe a
to put
little
him
too early.
here.
In
Yeah,
1980, Blazers trade him with a first round pick and another first round pick to the Nets for Calvin Nat. Not a great deal. Not a great
no,
deal.
no, that bears some more investigation, and because he kind of is their all-star, and to give him up
And two first round picks.
and 2 first-round picks.
He's only 27. What was Portland thinking? Okay, so our nominations to go over it. We have no, we don't have Bob Davies. It's still JoJo White for the point guards. Shooting guards is still Warren Jabali. Willie Wise has been waiting here since we started this entire podcast. Reese Lucas for the power forwards. Alex Groza for the centers. Is it time for some ABA stuff? Warren Jabali and Willie Wise.
I think Willie Wise is the better of the two. Um, Jabali, in that 400-page book, there is not much positive said about either Willie Wise or Jabali. But with Wise, there's more. Wise is regarded
No
as a
shit. No
fast.
no championship. No, there is a
No,
championship. I'm sorry.
yeah, yeah.
But
He's got.
he's not a yeah. Okay, slightly worse at scoring, but they do win a title in '71, which is later in the ABA. I accept the Willie Wise stuff because the ABA gets better so fast with each year. It's more impressive. Um, Jabali was able to win a title after Rick Barry got hurt. He just takes the same team and wins a championship anyways. I think that kind of speaks to how good the league was, which is probably not very good. Just the second year of the ABA's existence. Willie Wise would also give us access to George Yardley. Everyone's been clamoring. The fans have been asking, "Where's George Yardley? First
I,
2,000-point season. Someone's got to do it."
I don't think anybody has asked for it. But Wise, at least there are some good things. Like Wise, he dropped one of the first 50-point games in the ABA, and he does it against Dan Issel, Artis Gilmore, and Louis Dampier. It's it's solid. He is a great scorer. Maybe people don't write home about him, except for Peter Carey of Sports Illustrated, who says that the ABA's got 6 or 7 extraordinary players that no one in the NBA knows about, and that Wise is one of those guys, maybe one of the best all around young forwards in the pros. Problem is that he didn't really get better, didn't really hone in on his craft, and kind of washes out rather quickly. But I do think I would rather have him and his consistent performances over Warren Jabali, who by most accounts teammates didn't like.
Okay, that sounds good. Jabali can fall a little bit. Um, George Yardley would be the nomination after that for the small forwards. I had at this point for 142, I still had JoJo White. Can I convince you on that? Finals MVP,
Yeah,
two-time champ.
I didn't realize about the Finals MVP. That probably gets him there in my mind.
Yeah. All right.
Who does that
JoJo White.
introduce us for? That gets us Bob Davies
Getting
one of
old.
the
It's getting real old, and all the nominations are from a long, long time ago.
one of the best players of the late 40s, early 50s. He's just going off the dome, but we're looking at, was it 4 or 5 time him all NBA BAA player?
You get 5-time All BAA/NBA, 4-time All Star, an assist champ in his rookie season for the BAA. I'm not sure about the NBL stats, but in 1951 NBA champ. Let me take a second because I did not pull them up already and get his Davies. And we can look at his NBL stuff because I do believe he has some NBL awards.
Well, the Rochester Royals and the Minneapolis Lakers were the top teams of the NBL before they jumped to the BAA. And
I hear you.
really,
Go ahead. Sorry.
you hear my dog?
I do not.
Is that what you were about to say?
I was going to say he was 1946 NBL champion, 1947 NBL MVP, All NBL first team in 47, All NBL second team in 48. So some pretty important NBL awards. Check out the dog.
Yeah, welcome to
It's a nice
the
dog.
podcast, Cora, and Sasha Puchicic behind her, just sleeping.
What's the name?
Sasha Puchicic. It's a
That's
play
good.
on Sasha Vujicic.
That's good. I like it. So Davies he is the point guard of the Rochester Royals, of what will become my Sacramento Kings. He has the respect of the media, of the players in terms of his accolades, and the production results in a championship in 1951.
I believe he was also named to the silver anniversary team. Let me see here. I have that somewhere in this. Just
I don't see anything.
way too many notes to have.
He was one of the 10 players named to the 25th anniversary team in 1971. Got that?
Yeah.
I think Davies should be the nomination here. What do you think about it?
I really like Bob Davies. I remember when we started doing this discussion, we had him about like 40 spots or we had him in like the 40s for point guards. And the more we talked about it, the more we looked at it, he moved up. There's also, it's kind of obscure, but Slam Magazine in 2010 did a top 500. And it's probably what inspired me to want to do this or go this far. They had him at 133. So, a lot more
We're on
players have entered
track.
the league. Yeah, a lot more players have entered the league and played well, but also that's the magazine completely left off either Gail Goodrich or Norm Nixon. I forget which one of the Lakers' other guys they had left off, but they completely forgot one of them. So I've had my beef with that for a long time.
We're gonna forget somebody. We're gonna get done with this, and someone's like, "Hello, just forgot this guy." And I'm like, "Oh my
Sure,
god,
sure,
no."
but
Okay,
yeah,
with
142.
no
I think it's a
Jojo
good spot.
White, no Davies, another ABA guy. It's Jimmy Jones. We're gonna have to sift through some ABA stuff, some 50s players. Alex Groza, Reese Lucas. It's getting ugly, Nate. It's getting ugly in the top 100, top 200.
It's not that ugly.
Would you like
I
to
think it's
have a
Rosa
nomination?
time.
Okay,
Yeah,
I'm ready for that.
Rosa. He plays 2 seasons, and 2 seasons is incredibly light, incredibly sparse for these guys. Like, you just don't see it. They only keep track of rebounding in one of those 2 seasons, so we don't have a ton of statistics to go off of. But what we do know is that he was the younger, more agile big man who's going to wrestle the league away from George Mikan. He was second in scoring both of his years, fifth in rebounding the one year that they kept track of it. He's the unofficial rookie of the year. They gave him a franchise. Literally, the NBL and the BAA were fighting over who gets Alex Groza. And if he had gone to the BAA, there probably is no NBA. We are still just talking about the Basketball Association of America. him signing with the NBL, getting that franchise, being given the Olympias or the Olympians is huge. It forced the merger, and without the merger, we don't get the Syracuse Nationals. They probably just fold. And so if you're a 76ers fan, you have this man to thank because otherwise Syracuse just falls off into the wayside, or maybe they
Would
join later, but
would you like to
they're
tell everyone why he only played 2 seasons?
he was I believe he was actually convicted in a college point shaving scandal. He won games by less than he was supposed to have won them by. Like, and I think that's important. Is like they weren't losing the games; they were just shaving some points to help betting around the margins. Which now that sports gambling is legalized, we kind of got to question: will that happen again? Does it really even matter?
Give Alex Rose a justice.
Yeah, he also true shooting added brought up before. He plays 2 seasons and has a plus 700 true shooting average added. Like, the guy scored incredibly efficiently. They play the Minneapolis Lakers in the playoffs, and he averages 32 points against George Mikan, against like the best team assembled in basketball. And in a league where teams are averaging 80 points per game, he's
Yep.
getting like 32 in the playoffs.
All right. Groza comes in at 144. Brad Doherty is the new center nomination. So we have Jimmy Jones, Warren Jabali, Willie Wise, Maurice Lucas, and Brad Doherty. How you feeling?
I really liked players around the top 100 range.
I think it has to be Jabali time in terms of statistical impact. The
Fine,
assists, the points per game, the rebounds, the title. He has it all.
fine. We'll put Jabala here. That opens up Earl Monroe. You remember when we talked about, oh gosh, who was it that we talked when we talked about Lenny Wilkins, and we said that he didn't make all NBA teams. Earl Monroe is one of the guys that gets in there over him. Earl also just incredibly well beloved by an East Coast media bias.
He was an awesome bullet. Comes into the league 24 points per game, 25 points per game, 23, 21. Then goes to New York. He forms the Rolls Royce backcourt with Walt Frazier. Those guys were cool, man. I had made videos and people had asked me, why is Earl Monroe in the Hall of Fame? Why did he make the 75th anniversary team? Because basketball sucked before him. Because just the Celtics playing really good defense and destroying everyone. And he came in with a more New York City Rucker Park field of basketball. And like, hey, you can be cool and have fun and win basketball games at the same time. Him and Walt Frazier kind of gave us this insight. Because you know who's not fun at all? Will Chamberlain or Bill Russell or Jerry West or Oscar Robertson. They are like machines of basketball. Kareem was the face of the league at this point. Kareem is the least fun person in the history of the world. And I think Earl Monroe gave you a really fun insight on that style of play.
Monroe also makes 3 straight finals, 71, 72, 73. With the Baltimore in 71 and the next 2 with the Knicks. He's not playing a super ton, but I mean, the Knicks, that 72 run, he is getting 20 minutes. The other 2 teams, 34, 32. I like it. I like the appeal to cool, the impact. I also think if you read about him, he is incredibly beloved by African American players of this era, for bringing the street style to the league. In a similar way to what we discussed, the ABA and NBA are fighting a culture war, and the ABA is flash and is razzle, and the NBA is team ball and smart things. The ABA is a gimmick. Well, he's in the NBA and he's still bringing such beauty to his game. Kareem discusses him bringing the ball up the court, getting like a full court press, doing a spin move into a one-handed bounce pass to a cutter underneath the basket, and it being like a full court, like a 60 to 70-foot pass, hitting him on the move. Uh, like, there's a reason why he's known as Black Jesus.
I was muted, but what I said was Black Jesus. Hell yeah.
All right. So 146, locking him in. That gives us Walter Davis as the next shooting guard.
Legendary Phoenix Sun.
Man. I kind of want not Maurice Lucas, but the next power forward we have on the list. Also could be tempted by Brad.
Can we take a second? I know we're almost done. My brother
Yeah.
called me. He asked if his laptop charger is home. I'm going to go check for it. Be right back.
Okay.
All right. Sorry about that.
No problem.
Thanks for waiting.
Yeah.
Where do we leave off?
We left off with me saying, well, that I kind of want Joe Fulks, the next top power forward behind Mo Lucas. I know why we decided to put Lucas over him. Just thinking here. This might be the time for George Yardley. You're right. He is the first guy to get 20 or to get 2,000 points in a season.
Yep.
Great.
One of the first guys to think it gets it. 1 sec. I think 10,000 total points maybe as well. Scoop forward a little bit. Is that true?
Could be.
No, 9,000 points. I'm not sure. Anyways, 2,000 points in one season. Leads the league in free throws made, free throws attempted that year, field goal attempts. The Pistons are actually pretty good. They do make the playoffs. They do win a playoff series. That's worth something. I'm all for Yardley. He was my next guy.
He loses in 2 finals runs, but he still makes 2 finals runs. He's got third place MVP finish. You know, Syracuse and the Pistons. I think this is time. I know we don't have like that much exciting to say about George, but we're over an hour into a podcast, and he played 500 games in the 50s. But hey, 28 points per game and 58. That's an impressive number for that era.
You want to go Joe Fulks next? You want to skip around a little bit?
Let's see. After Yarley, we get our 35th small forward, who is Chet Walker. Yeah, I'm okay not having Chet Walker in this. Let's put Lucas here. Lucas is huge. Lucas is both the leading scorer, and while he's not the rebounder, um, the second or the leading rebounder for Portland, he is a pretty bruising physical player. He creates an imposing front line. They're one of the best defensive teams in the league, not just because of Bill Walton, but also Lucas's defense. Yeah, he kind of becomes a journeyman. Doesn't have that great of a post Portland career, but we're still looking at a 5-time All-Star here, 2-time All Defensive teams, and a champion.
I'm all for it. Now that does bring Joe Fulks into the mix.
And I would very happily put Jumpin' Joe Fulks, the first superstar of the league, here at 149. It's a very brief career, but is a 4-time All NBA player. Only a 2-time All Star because the All Star game didn't get invented until his 5th season. So if you're looking at that, you could say, hey, he's a 4-time All NBA, 6-time All Star, because that's what it should be. The first championship he wins. The next year they make the finals. He leads the playoffs in scoring both seasons. And does all of this after serving in World War II, just comes back from war and jumps into the NBA. I'll take it.
Joe Fulks taking advantage of just the shell-shocked NBA players.
I mean, he's causing the shell shock for the NBA players. He's 6'5", but he's a bigger power forward for those days. And when he jumped, you couldn't really defend it. Like, there weren't jump shooters in that day, and there weren't that many big guys. Like, teams would have one guy between 6'8" and like 6'10", and if you had to put that guy on Joe Fulks, it collapsed your team. Now, he is also basically James Harden, elite
Free
foul
throws.
evader. Yeah,
Foul. Hooking the
foul
arms.
bait.
He's doing the Trae Young jumping back into guys.
It's yeah, 40s James Harden. I like the fact that he's right here at 149. Really, if we could probably bump him up to 147 because he won his title in 1947. That's just nice symmetry.
You can't do it. I'm sorry. So we
All
have
right.
one more spot, and our options. The options are ABA legend Jimmy Jones of the New Orleans Buccaneers. We have Phoenix Sun legend Walter Davis, Sixer and Chicago Bull Chet Walker, Cincinnati Royal and Rochester Royal Maurice Stokes, and Cleveland Cavalier Brad Daugherty. How you feeling?
I feel like there's a lot of really good names, actually. You kind of
We
looking at
broke through the slog. There's a bit of a drop at 140, and I think we found some gold back here. What are you thinking? I'll let you have the choice. Let you have the nomination.
I mean, gosh, sticking with where I've been at recently with my folk selection, with my Alex Gorza pick, like it feels like Stokes would be the guy. Just really trying to think through all of the facets here. I think for me, it's either going to be Stokes or Jimmy Jones. Do you have a particular leaning? Is one
I
of
like
them much
Stokes.
higher, much lower?
I'm happy you mentioned Stokes. Maurice Stokes is so good before his tragic traumatic brain injury in 1959 that caused him to retire and left him in a wheelchair. But prior to that, he was 16 points a game. He was 17 rebounds per game. He led the league in rebounds per game in his rookie season. There's a universe where Maurice Stokes stays healthy. The Royals get Oscar Robertson's steal by a miracle, and they have Stokes and Lucas and Oscar, and Stokes would have been the difference because really his rebounding in his interior defense is what the Royals were lacking against Wilt, against Russell, against Wes Unseld, against the better centers of the 60s and 70s. They didn't have a center to match up with them. And Stokes is just 6'7", but still clearly just a monster in the paint. He also was averaging 5 assists per game. He was absolutely incredible statistically.
6'7", 230. The dude was strong, especially for this era. And he's picking up MVP votes in his first 3 seasons. The 3 seasons that he plays, he's in that discussion. He is one of the top players in the league. Now he's below average vision as far as his true shooting, but you got him with Oscar, that pick and roll dynamic duo. He's compared to Karl Malone. As far as athletic and build, I think that there's a good chance that he gets there. Now, I just kind of want to make the Jimmy Jones case, because Jimmy Jones he's an ABA All-Star for 6 seasons, and he misses 72 and kind of hurt. But in 69, he averages 35 and 5 in the playoffs. He's excellent defensively. He's super acrobatic, like to the point where he sometimes is called a small forward. Like this dude is a point guard. He is, what is he? 6'4", 180, 188. But really blossomed into just an elite scorer and kind of an all-around player. No, he's not going to get you 10 rebounds. He's not going to get you 10 assists, but he'll get you like 5 and 5 or 6 and 6 in both when it really matters.
And
Helps
he's
the
good until
Buccaneers.
74.
Yeah.
As the ABA gets better, he is just as good.
And really, 74, he is all ABA first team still. Like,
You want to do it? Jimmy Jones? Maurice Stokes? What's your call?
I like Jones.
All right, 150 is Jimmy Jones.
They both have that kind of like asterisk next to him. Jimmy Jones are the ABA stats inflated? Stokes has 1 really old, but 2 just the short time period. But I think this is a good list. I like where we've gotten. Do you want to read back the list, or you want me to?
Sure thing. We start off at 126 with Marc Gasol, then Shawn Marion, Mark Aguirre, Bailey Howell, Peja Stojakovic is 130, Gus Williams, Glenn Rice, Kevin Love, Draymond Green, Gail Goodrich, Klay Thompson, Mark Price, Mitch Richmond, Manu Ginobili. Vern Mickelson comes in at 140, Willie Wise, JoJo White, Bob Davies, Alex Carosa, Warren Jabali, Earl Monroe, George Yardley, Maurice Lucas, Joe Fulks, and at 150, ABA legend, New Orleans Buccaneer legend, Jimmy Jones.
Excellent. All right. Well, you can find me, Hoops Temple, basically anywhere. Here you go, whether that's Twitter, TikTok, hoopstemple@gmail.com. Aaron, where can the people find you?
Possible Chairs on TikTok. One word.
Also, shout out to Hoop Social for getting us some live streaming abilities.
Thank you very much.
Check them out.
All right.